again, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Ernetta Caldwell, and I am an author, speaker, transformation coach. And I am the founder, CEO of Beauty for Ashes Transformations, where I teach women how to rediscover themselves after divorce or heartbreak by implementing self-love, building confidence and courage to move forward to live out their best lives. So, part of why I started what I'm doing is because of my own life's experience. I went through a lot of trauma growing up and having to overcome and heal. So I've experienced childhood molestation, foster care, teen pregnancy at the age of 14, and will later on in life experience going through a devastation of a divorce. And at that time, I wanted to give up on life, but the key was God. He never gave up on me.
God is good all the time, as they
Yes, he
say.
is.
Amen. For those who maybe aren't religious, the world is good all the time. So you mentioned quite a bit, and there's a lot of things that you mentioned that I haven't gone through, but I've spoken to so many women, especially who've gone through it. And for those listening, it's not only women that go through it, it's not a gender situation, right? Like divorce can happen between heterosexual and homosexual relationships. So take us through the very, very beginning, right? Because you mentioned molestation, you mentioned divorce. So how did you become the woman that's in front of me today? How did that start?
Well, I would definitely have to say going through the journey. So I did write my whole story in my book. It's called A Journey to a Healed Heart, Healing Through a Painful Divorce. And you can get that on all of my platforms. If you follow me, I'm on all social media platforms at Ernetta Caldwell. But the key was when I went through the divorce, it awakened so many different things inside of me. It was like, okay, are you not enough? I had a lack of confidence. I didn't believe in myself. I kind of knew more about my spouse and my children and my career more than I knew about who I really was. And so the key to becoming the woman that I am today was all about me rediscovering who I am, falling in love with myself. Number one, I always say for me, falling in love with God, putting Him first, and loving yourself. And now, my story is different because I align myself in that way. And I always say, love God first, love yourself, and love will find you. And now I've been remarried now for 8 years. My beautiful, wonderful husband, Anthony, has came and found me, but it took for me to really rediscover me first and heal in order to be where I'm at today.
Congratulations. Many people, you probably know the stats, don't get married once, let alone twice,
Yes.
right? And I know if my friends were to hear this, they'd be like, oh my God, Terrain, you know someone that's been divorced and remarried? I was like, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about marriage and divorce, okay? I look at it as you're playing a game of sport. Let's say basketball. Marriage is a championship. So for those of you who are going to look down on someone saying that they got married, remarried, all this other stuff, they at least won once,
Mm.
whereas you guys haven't won it at all. Right? So congratulations to you and congratulations to Anthony because I love hearing success stories like that because there's a time in my life where I wanted to get married, but I wanted to do it for all the wrong reasons, right? Like
Mm.
I grew up seeing divorces and unhappy people and single people that seem to just blame everyone and the world, but they didn't do the inner work.
Mm.
So I was like, you know what, Train? You're gonna get married, and your marriage is gonna fix the entire world, right? You're gonna be the template. And then I turned 22, then I turned 25, and then I turned 28, and then I turned 30. And I was like, it's still coming, right? And then I turned 35. I was like, still coming,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, but then once I realized that there's a relationship for me and it just may be a different type of relationship. So when you were married once and it didn't work out the way you wanted, then you got remarried. Did you think that you would have been able to get married a second time, or at the very least, find someone that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
Well, the key for me was even going through that divorce, I still trusted God so much that my prayer to God, I said, God, send me a husband that will love me for loving you. So I believed and I kept myself in alignment to being that wife that I knew I was, because that was my heart's desires. There's some people that may say, I don't want to ever get married, and that's fine. That's your choice. But for me, I was believing that there would be someone else that would come my way and that I can live this beautiful, happy life with. No marriage is perfect, but just, living a beautiful life, and starting over. Sometimes when you've been hurt or you've gone through different situations, whether it was betrayal or there's different things, maybe you just came to a place in that relationship to say, okay, we need to just separate, we need to go our separate ways. Whatever your reasoning is, but I still believe that there was somebody and I was willing to take the risk to love again.
Was that hard after the heartbreak? Because heartbreak stays with some people for a very long time.
You said something earlier that was so important. You have to do the inner work. You have to forgive. You have to, number one, you have to forgive yourself. Sometimes you hold that guilt and that unforgiveness to yourself to say, well, I knew the red flags was there, or I knew I shouldn't have this, or maybe I was so young, or, there's different levels we are in on our journey in life. But the key is doing that inner work, loving anyway, despite of how someone treats you or how they are to you. And I think that's one of the hardest things, but it's the one of the things that God wants us to do is really to love, be kind, and in doing that, it helped to really like release anything that I could have held on to, because a lot of times we can go through one thing with somebody and then carry that on into another relationship and be like, all men are like this, all women are like this, and that's not true, and it's not fair to that person.
And we see a lot of that like online where you have a large group of, well, sorry, you have a small group of women who are speaking about their issues within themselves, within their group, right? Their echo chamber. Then you have men who are doing the same thing. So you have women on one side, men on the other side, and they're speaking amongst each other, but not speaking together. And then you have the people who are finding successful relationship. What are they doing? They're speaking with each other, right? And then they'll move forward. And one of the pains that I see for this demographic of people is that there's always a reminder of success, but unfortunately, the success doesn't apparently seem to find them. Like, there's that joke, right? Single people keep people single because they don't ever look at the inside or they look at the outside. So when you're having these conversations with these women, or more importantly, Ernetta, when you decided to not bring some of the issues or maybe the concerns from one relationship to another, what was some of the things that you did to ensure that didn't happen?
Um, like I said, it was a lot of development, personal development, I would say, and just connecting with God. For me, it was about just being intentional to say, God, whoever else you would send my way, Lord, I don't want to carry any bitterness, any resentment, or any hurts from this person. So allow me to release it. So those were the things. Like I did a lot of journaling, to release. I did connect with a therapist. Some people see it as taboo, but that's something I did because sometimes you need to have somebody help you to process your thoughts and where you're going. But another thing that I did to really help me too, and I am the creator, it's called the Prayer Vision Box, and this is what it looks like. So I teach women to pray it, believe it, and see it. And it's all about creating your vision board inside of the box. So a lot of times we focus so much on the past or even where we currently are, instead of focusing on the future and where we want to go. And that was something that really helped me. And I cut out a picture. This was the actual picture that I cut out of a bride and groom. And I said, God, send me a husband that would love me for loving you. And that's what he did. But I had to see where I wanted to go. God says in Habakkuk 2 and 2, write the vision, make it plain. And that's what I did. And that helped me to release the past of what didn't work, but believe for what was going to work in my future.
I need one of those boxes from one of my friends
I
because
agree.
he's a piece of work, let me tell you. He told me one day, because you mentioned therapy, and that like rang a bell in my mind, right? And he was like, Terrain, I don't need therapy because I know what's wrong with me. I was like, oh, really? What is wrong with you? And he shared what was wrong with him. I was like, that has been an issue for 10 years. I was like, you know what a therapist is? A therapist isn't only to tell you what is wrong with you, right? They're not there to confirm it. They're there to help you resolve it,
Hmm.
right? Help you take the steps. I was like, the fact that you think you know everything just because you know your issues, I was like, you haven't been able to resolve it. Let me tell you, Ernetta, he went from having anger issues
Mm.
to anger management issues. Now he's saying things like, I don't like people, so it's escalating
Oh,
over the
mm,
years, right? And it's impacts a number of his relationships, not only romantic but like friendships as well. And it's unfortunate to see because I know sometimes we look at people and we say that I'm too old to change. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can.
mhm.
You can. And one thing I love that you shared is the power of faith.
Yes.
Faith is a beautiful thing, guys. Let me tell you, it's not a, even if you don't necessarily believe, it's the structure. When it's good, it's the structure of it. It gives you the foundation to a lot of things. And I think that is probably what is missing in a lot of these relationships is that the foundation is weak and then people try to build upon that. But talk to us about how impactful that part of your life has been to you when it comes to your faith.
Ooh, it was one of the keys that I needed because there were so many times. So the history, I can't even go back. So even before me creating the prayer vision box, I had my daughter, she was 7 at the time. And one day she was at summer camp. She came home and said, Mommy, let's create a vision board. And that's when I looked at her and I said, little girl, do you know how broken I am? Do you know how hurt I am? I don't want to do arts and crafts. I don't want to cut out pictures. I was kind of like your friend. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want, and I wasn't mean or anything to her. I just felt so broken, so hurt. I was hurting. My heart was hurting. And she said, let's create this. And just doing that act, it really helped to increase my faith. I mean, it was like when you're really in the storms of life, a lot of times you only see the dark clouds. You never see the sunshine. And I remember so many times asking God, Lord, when will these tears ever stop? When will I ever have a day where I can feel joy? Lord, you said you're close to the broken and hearted. And I believe what the word says, but a lot of times, sometimes you don't feel it. You don't see anything happening. So every day he would just, as I prayed to him and I believed, it was just, he would increase my faith and he would send people my way, good people that came to support me, to lift me up and say, you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. And sometimes it's like, you're saying that, but you don't know what I'm going through behind closed doors. But the key was you just have to take baby steps every day and keep moving forward. That's the key in your faith.
Was there a time where maybe you thought that I don't know if I can do this, and you had maybe thoughts of giving up on your journey?
Many of days, many of days. And like I said, like doing the act of a vision board really helped to push me forward. Really just doing the self and inner work. But there were many a days where I either said, and I say this to say it humbly now, but I could have been 6 feet under behind bars or in a mental institution because of the devastation of the pain that I endured and the trauma behind, going through a devastation of a divorce. It was many a days I was like, God, I don't know how I'm going to move. I don't know how I'm going to keep going. But I did. I just, even if you have to drag your foot and move and get up, get up. So I don't know who's listening to this right now, or you'll come back and listen later, but keep getting up.
You currently are looking to assist others as well, get through it. I know on my end, I see some of the struggles that a lot of the women go through, especially as they're older in age, because many women that I work with are over 40, right? They're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even. But for you, you're so strong in the faith, and maybe sometimes people don't necessarily have that. They got to pull from somewhere else.
Mhm.
So, in your experiences, Ernetta, what are some of the commonalities that you see in the women that you work with that maybe it's preventing them from finding the type of success that you're currently enjoying?
I would definitely have to say the lack of ability to believe in themselves. And sometimes it could be rooted from childhood. It could be from that teacher that told you you weren't nothing, that you couldn't do it, you weren't capable. It could have been a parent that was there, but they weren't there, or they didn't encourage you, or maybe your daddy wasn't there. Everyone has a different situation, but everyone has a story, right? But the key about it is, what are you telling yourself to believe in you? Sometimes when we go through life situations, you have to understand to know that the circumstance and the situation of what you're going through, that doesn't define you. That's not your final destination. Sometimes, like a divorce for me, it was just a detour to get me on track to where God wanted me to be, so that now where I'm at today, I can pull back and reach back and pull up other women and help them get through. Because the key was, God, He turned my pain into purpose, my sadness into strength, and my dark places into my destiny. And I would not be the woman I am today if I had not went through all the things that I've gone through.
I'm going to definitely use all of that you just said because it's so inspiring. And I wonder how many of my exes will be okay if I call them a detour in my life to journey. At that point, right? The big, what you say, terrain? I've been living in the same house for like 10 years, so they know where to find me. Right? But it could be just as simple as that, saying that, yes, I went through this. It's
Mhm,
not going to define me, right? Because you've probably seen it and maybe you've experienced a little bit where it's just such a heavy thing to carry, right? Because you have the heartache, you have the doubt, and I couldn't imagine going through. It's one thing I think maybe to go through a little bit of a struggle when you're younger because your mindset may be, you know what, I have all this time
mhm,
to maybe overcome it. Like, one of someone recently shared that in my 20s I went through certain things, but they kind of downplayed it because they said that, well, I was young enough so I had time to recover. Whereas some
mhm.
people, they don't have the time to recover, right? Or worse yet, they just don't know how and they're battling and battling and battling. And I know that when you shared earlier about some of the stuff that you went through and then you're sharing the commonalities, I look at heartbreak and I wonder if there's people out there that who are unable to fix it themselves, so they have to rely on someone else and then they become codependent. Let's say, for example, I'm divorced, I'm 45. Am I going to find love again? This person down the street, they're giving me this attention. It's better than nothing. I
Mhm.
wonder if there's those types of struggles when it comes to people who are much older in age and they're just trying to wonder, okay, am I going to be able to find someone to spend the rest of my life with now that I'm entering maybe the twilight of my life? Do you come across some of the people that I work with that are having those thoughts, thinking that maybe they won't ever find someone despite all the work that they are able to try to do?
Yes, I do. And then for me, like, I went through my divorce in my 30s, and I remember feeling like, oh my goodness, my life is over. Who's gonna wanna, I had two kids, and who's gonna, everyone kind of goes through that. I think it doesn't matter really what age you are at. I believe it's about your mindset and your belief. If you believe that you are worthy of love and being loved again and being in a marriage, if that's what your heart's desire is, it will happen. And I don't believe in just, taking anyone either, because that was the thing. I was like, I also have a t-shirt brand in a workshop that I teach. It's called Dating God Until Mr. Right Comes. And the key with that was, it was about me being intentional about dating God. Like, I would go to the movies with God. I would go out to eat with God. It would just be me and God. And when my now husband came, I remember questioning God. I'm like, who is this? Because God, I don't have time for games. I don't have time to play games. If this the one you sending, then I'll take him. If not, I need to keep moving. But my mindset was just so focused and zoned in on just loving God and loving me, and really getting to know me and rediscover who God truly created me to be, despite of what I've gone through. And when I got to that point, like I said, He came, I call him my Boaz. He came and found me and picked me up. So I believe it doesn't matter what age you are. You are worthy of love, and there's someone out there for everyone.
Absolutely. There is no expiry on love.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. Like I look back and when I used to say that I love this person in my 20s now I'm talking. I love this person, I love no one else. I'm like, it wasn't really love. Right? And I love that you said that I'm not going to just pick up anybody because that's a trap that a
Hmm.
lot of people fall into. It's just like, you know what? Tyrone down the street. I don't care what Erica Badu was saying back in the day. Let me pick up this man right now. He's been hollering at me for years. Slow Thursday. Who knows? Right?
No, ask for wisdom and discernment.
There you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, the person that you get with is, what I learned as I got older is that there's things that I thought were meaningful to me, let's say 10 years ago, that mean very little, if not nothing now.
Mm,
Like what I look for in a partner is essentially I just want to spend time with that person. And the time that I spend with that person, I want to feel good. I want to feel at peace.
mhm.
Before I felt like maybe someone the person was doing this with me. It was just someone that came across maybe as an accessory. Okay, if I want to go here, I have someone to go here. If I want to do this, I have someone to go this. But once the very first time I went to a restaurant by myself and I'm looking around, it was kind of difficult, right? But then, like you, I'm gonna go to dinner with God. I'm gonna watch this movie with God. And once I got comfortable, I was like, you know what? I can go wherever. Tomorrow, I'm going on a soccer game by myself, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I can go wherever because I knew that I was comfortable with myself, but more importantly, I became in love with myself.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's what's missing. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because for me, I would say that's why going through the divorce was so devastating. Because, like I said earlier, I didn't know me outside of my spouse, my kids, my career. I knew everybody what cereal everyone loved their favorite meal. But me, I was like, what do I really like? And it took for me to, I'm also an actress. So one of the things that I picked back up was getting on stage. I love to act. And that's what I picked back up and I fell in love with doing that. But before that, I kind of put myself to the back burner because I wanted to make sure everyone else was good and I knew what they loved and liked. Hmm.
I know I hear a lot of women make that same point where they kind of lose themselves in some relationship because they went from, let's say, they're one way and they had hobbies. Now they've become a mother. Now they
Hmm.
become a wife. Now they become a girlfriend. So there's additional hats that they're wearing, but sometimes they forget who they were before all of this. Is that something you see as well?
Yes, absolutely. I see it a lot. Whether even women that are married now, the key is you still have to find your true love of things you love to do. Yes, you're going to make time for your spouse. Yes, you'll make time for your children, but you have to make time for you and what you love to do.
So what is something that maybe the woman can do to not feel maybe guilty that they're being selfish since women tend to be more nurturing in nature, saying that, hey, ladies out there, it's okay to take time for yourself outside of maybe some of your other duties as, let's say, a mother or wife or so on.
Yes. I would definitely have to say you have to know that you are worthy of whatever it is that you want to do. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first. And it's sometimes, yeah, I hear it all the time, like you're being selfish. No, you're not. It's like you have to unwind your brain and unwire it into a way to understand that no, I'm not being selfish. This is actually me taking care of me knowing who I am and me really walking because you have to think about it. Each and every one of us, we were born with a gift, a talent, and a purpose. So there's something for you to do outside of even being a wife or a mother or, whatever your situation, maybe you're a single mother, but there's something for you to do. There's a purpose within you. So you have to just ignite it and you just have to go for it.
And as we close, Ernetta, give us some tips on how to maybe find the right person for you, as well as maybe become the right person for them?
Like I said before, definitely do the inner work inside of you to heal, release those, to forgive, those who have betrayed you, who have done you wrong, or maybe, in every relationship, it doesn't matter whether you were married or maybe you was just in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, it didn't work out. The key is there's always a lesson and a blessing. So take those lessons and blessings, love on those lessons and blessings, but release. Right? Hold on to the good things, release the bad and negative things. And with doing that, it's really going to help to put you into a position to really attract the love because we attract who we are. If you walk around and you're bitter, you're mean, you're unforgiving, you have unforgiveness inside your heart, you're going to attract people like that. When you really release that and find the joy and the kindness and the love within and to trust to believe that there's good people out here, you will attract someone good for you. So that's my advice. That's exactly what I did. And like I said, true love came and found me.